Hello, beautiful friends. Happy new moon. It's hard to take a picture of the new moon. So here's a full moon. It's a moon. And so we once again are gathered here in love, and bliss, and just incredible honor to be participating in this ascension process on this planet with you all, every single one of us. I just want to thank you all. Also, thank you for your trust and for your energy, for your love, and all of it. So, where do we start? It's a huge process. I like to use storytelling, using stories that I got to experience in this lifetime, a lot of them with the divine in these celestial realms since I was a really newborn. And so I think, part of it is, of course, that we came here with a specific purpose. And I remember when I was a little girl, I was in my room and my guides would come to me. And my guides, maybe I was like 6, 7, and my guides were always the what we call in this world Native Americans, but they were Hopi people. And I grew up in Czechoslovakia where we didn't have any, we had the so-called Iron Curtain. And so there was no way I knew about the Hopi people, not at that age anyway. And the first time I actually got to know about them was when I was in my 20s and I met an Australian geologist and I said to him, you've traveled the world. Can you tell me, do the Hopi people exist? Where do they live? Is that like just red rocks? Because I was always seeing the red rocks. And so that was the first time that I got to confirm that actually the Hopi people were real. And so when I was, a little kid, they would come to my bedroom, and it started early on, but this was one of the visitations. They would come and they said, one day we want you to be speaking on the radio. And as a little kid, what do you know about things? But they would bring a radio and they would have this voice speaking through the radio. And I was listening to this woman and I was thinking, wow, I'm hearing the celestial tones. I'm not even listening to her words, but I'm just hearing celestial tones. And then they said, well, that's you speaking one day. And I said, oh, I don't want to do it, I think. And they said, no, you signed the contract. And it was so interesting, how you sign these contracts. I don't even know like how it all works, but they pulled up these contracts and they showed me I signed. And so here we are, many decades later. And so what I share here, it's not so much exactly about the words themselves. Plus I'm limited in my vocabulary. I didn't live in any country long enough to actually have, full-blown vocabulary in any language. But I do my best to find words. And maybe that's all, of course, by design. And so I use these stories and I always keep them as accurate as they really did happen, because that's part of the purpose. It's not to make up stuff. Sometimes I have stories that I don't understand at all that happen in celestial realms, and some stories I don't even find so useful, but I try to just bring all the puzzle pieces as accurately as possible. And only when they come through these celestial, out-of-body experiences or apparitions, you would say. And so one of the greatest apparitions, and that's really not true at all, I'm sorry, I experience many apparitions. Is that the word? When a divine being comes in the physical in front of you, and it's not like your imagination, it's not your visualization, it's not even your consciousness, but of course to some degree it is consciousness, because everything is consciousness. And so one of the great apparitions that I always speak about is when I met this incredible being, Yogananda. And I say I owe to him. I was like, one of the first things when I met him, I didn't know who he was, like from the literature. And again, that's by design. And so when I first saw this being in front of me, where he appeared, I recognized him, and not by his name. I just recognized him. And so that was my beginning of really expanding consciousness with Yogananda, where for 2 years I was not even really allowed to read anything from him and by him, when I realized that actually he was a well-known yogi, and not just a yogi, an avatar, a master being who really came from Divine Mother and Divine Father directly into this world. So I was just every day for 2 years studying with him, directly with him. He would sit next to me, he would stand next to me, and I felt like a grandchild in a way, who was learning from a grandfather, which is really incredible. And so the teachings that I share here that led eventually to everything he told me this would lead to, I laughed when I first met him and he said, "Hey, I want you to study with me every day. I will show up for you every single day. And I just want you to follow every day these instructions." And so he was giving me instructions every single day for 2 years. This was in 2010 until 2012 when we had the big ascension breakthrough. And so he said, "I will show you a direct path to God." And, again, growing up in the world where God was not like a really cool word for me at all, I just kind of didn't want to do anything with, anything that sounded religious. I was not even like excited when he told me that. I just thought, well, I'm excited about you because I recognize you. I know that we go deep. But God, I don't know about God. And so that was kind of funny. That's, 2010. And then eventually, of course, everything he shared, which I have been teaching ever since, really, is it leads to not just self-realization, which is a big topic and big journey, actually, but it all leads to personal contact with Divine Mother and personal contact with Divine Father, where I would say, if we talk about personal contact, again, beyond anything I could have possibly imagined. And so today we are here on this new moon, and I always wonder, will the divine keep giving us new stories? Because I get bored repeating same stories. They are wonderful and they are so useful. And I always just secretly hope we will get some new stories. And so I have a new story and I'm very excited about this one. And I posted it on YouTube, and also our beautiful sister Lynn that I saw here on the call with her beautiful voice, she recorded this story, and so I'm going to be posting that as well, again with her beautiful voice. And so this teaching, the green Tara, people ask me, why do you call it guru? And I say, to be honest with you, when the green Tara came to me the first time, she came after I met Divine Mother. And this happened in 2017. Again, you never forget the dates of these things, because it's, of course, life-changing. And so it was in August 2017 when we had the solar eclipse. And this is very interesting. Why would the Divine Mother appear on a solar eclipse in 2017? It's because she eventually revealed herself in more and more and more depth and vastness. First, when she appeared, I would compare her to what we have here, the beautiful picture that Yogananda's organization uses of the Adi Shakti. And I received just the most incredible transmission from her in the middle of the night. And just to put it into perspective, I never thought it was possible for an ordinary human being, really, so easily to just get visitation from Divine Mother. I didn't think about her even much because it all seemed like, these amazing concepts, like, yeah, Divine Mother spoke to Yogananda, but surely she will not just appear to me. And I didn't ask for it at all. So it was not like that I wanted Divine Mother to appear. But as you know, many of you, we work with Patricia Kota Robles. And that day she sent an email and she said, we have the solar eclipse. It's a really important time. So she gave us an invocation, all of us on her mailing list. And so me and my husband, we were driving through a beautiful valley called Napa in California. And, as a passionate meditator who likes to invoke a lot of things, I said to my husband, well, the solar eclipse is happening. It was happening partially in California, but mainly in Oregon. And I guess maybe in Washington, I can't remember exactly, but the West Coast here. And so I said to my husband, would you mind if we just stop in the middle of nowhere, like kind of, in the valley, and we get out of the car and we start invoking together. And so we got out of the car, it's all vineyards, so standing in the vineyard kind of. And we started to read the invocation from Patricia. It was wonderful. I'm sure many of you did the same thing. And then I thought, well, tree hugging is always a great option. So I started to hug some trees, and I was sending the invocation into the earth through the trees just to have some fun. Got back in the car, got home, and that night, in the middle of the night, in the darkness of the bedroom, this bright light was shining right above the bed, on my side of the bed, and just waking me up and really waking me. And so I was shocked. And of course, I asked, "Who are you?" I could just see the luminosity. And the answer didn't come as like, listen to this, I'm Divine Mother. It was what I call transmission. It's the like ultimate instantaneous just knowing, but not just knowing of some name, knowing of like some being. It was actually recognition. And in that moment, this bright light started to transmit so much information, knowledge. It was like what people today call downloads, I guess. And it was definitely a zip file. So it needed some unpacking. And it's still unpacking. I'm still unpacking it. And it comes to me as sudden memories. But, I don't share memories that would be anything vague. It truly has to be more like where suddenly your consciousness just knows a lot that you never knew before. And it's not like someone told you in some reading of a past life that you probably never had, but it has to come as clear as sunrise. And so this was a huge beginning of this journey with Divine Mother. So I thought, well, that's incredible. So, in the morning, I got out of bed, just totally excited. And it couldn't get even more exciting because as I walked into the bathroom and, you have the mirror on the wall, you look in the mirror, I'm getting ready for work. I look in the mirror and above me was this lady. And again, I'm not some kind of Buddhist worshiper of the green Tara, but it was instantaneous. The green Tara as this kind of being. She didn't look like the typical Buddhist, pictures. She looked like this, actually. This is the closest I could find. And I'm just looking in the mirror, and this lady is hovering above me, and I'm seeing her in the mirror. And again, she's doing the same thing, complete transmission of information that was like my brain. There was no way my brain could understand any of it, really. But it was just coming in, and it was like remembering who humanity is, what is Mother Earth, where are we going, what's going to happen in this ascension process, why are we in the body, and all these things just flooded in. And it was very funny because she said, okay, now I need you to sit down and I just need you to write a few things that will happen in this lifetime. And then I need you to start teaching and doing this and that. And this is your assignment. So the assignment came from this beautiful being. And, it was green Tara. And so immediately I drove to the office. I was working in the office. And just, typical boring office job where you sit in front of your laptop all day, but suddenly my life got really exciting because now I was like on a mission. I was like listening to her mantra. I was writing down everything she was telling me, and she said, when you start teaching, it needs to be the green Tara. And so I looked at the websites and everything was taken. Someone actually owns greentara.com, but they have never used the website. They just owned it for 20 years. I'm sure it's some disciple of the green Tara who never wants anyone to have it. And so the only thing that was available was greentara.guru. And so that's how the guru came into being. But, I thought it was all just totally accidental. But of course, now I think about the knowledge she has given us. And of course, it is that the mother in all her forms is the ultimate guru. And so I tried to just do whatever she told me to do. And that is always offering all knowledge completely, and I'm going to say selflessly, for free. And it's not that that actually I don't even consider it selfless. I just consider it to be, part of the big mission that everyone should know as much as possible And I only know what I know. I only share what I know and what I've experienced through these stories so that everyone can get to know this beautiful mother. So the ascension process that we are in, you know, there's a lot of information about it. And I only share exactly what was given to me. And I try to do it, of course, 100% as it was given, without any imagination, without any fairy tales, because I also believe that being accurate is important in terms of spiritual science. Because to me, it's like when it is 2 plus 2 equals 4, it must be so in spiritual science too, instead of making it fluffy and kind of, you know, adding to it. So everything that you receive here is as is. It doesn't mean at all that it's the complete picture. I wish, and maybe there is a lot of completeness in what is being shared here as well, but it's definitely just as is. And so what happened recently, again, it's posted on YouTube, but I want to take you through this story here directly. You've heard a lot of my stories if you've been on these calls, and they serve a purpose. Divine Mother told me to keep sharing all these stories she has given us, and Yogananda and all these beautiful. Really, what we work with is not so much beings. We work with very few beings here on these calls, and that is Divine Mother, Divine Father, and I bring in whenever Yogananda, you know, the teachings that he gave us. So I'm not, you know, working with some beings like specifically, except for these great beings. And so the story that just happened is a new story. And once again, to me, it's like going deep into it. You know, it's in detail in the YouTube video, and I'm going to upgrade it with Lynn's recording as well, which because I really like it. But I want to start here with some quotes, and I wanted to thank Gurge, who read all the books by Yogananda, and to me it's like having an advisor. You know, when I experience something, I say, hey, has Yogananda ever mentioned this? You know, did he write about it? I just want to put the puzzle pieces together. And so I'm going to share an out-of-body experience that I had very recently, really a few days ago. And that is, I got to travel out of body, and I got to work through the dimensions beyond, 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 beyond. And I met with our Father God. And to me, Father God is even not the right title. It's beyond that. It's almost like saying Creator, created God. And so I'm going to go with the title Creator. And I was taken into many worlds, but I also was taken into the ultimate, what I would call reality beyond all realities. And so there I was able to communicate with the Creator and bring down a very detailed message. And it was so interesting because it seemed like everything was just entertainment to our Creator. Truly entertaining to Divine Mother, entertaining to Divine Father, entertaining to the Creator. And you would say, how could that be? And so here is a quote from Yogananda. This shadow play is an illusion created by God, colossal entertainment for his children to enjoy. And so may this story lead to our ability to enjoy the great entertainment, the play, the shadow and light that we are in and participating in it. So maybe play well. And so I'm going to go into this picture, which is, you know, what best will describe this experience. So the way that I like to tell the stories is closing my eyes and really just going deep within to find, you know, the energy of it, because of course everything that you experience, it really changes your field, and so your field then carries the information. It's not a memory, and so it's nothing to do with how the brain remembers things. It actually is an energetic information around you, and then that is what ignites everyone around you. It's not so much telling the story, but actually it's the energy and the authentic energy of it. It's almost like traveling into, let's say, this higher realm, And then simply by being there, bringing the pure energy with you down from the ocean of spirit, and then transforming the world where you're in right now in this moment, which is here. And so may this be transformational in the energy. I love it. Elaine, I love the picture, and thank you for sending it as well to me. Just that picture, what you posted, it reminds me so much of what we saw at the Serpent Mound, the rainbow smiley face, which is great. And so when I was a little kid, I didn't have any control over my out-of-body experiences, but I just noticed them. I just noticed that when I lay in bed as a little kid, like maybe 1-year-old, 2-year-old, that kind of memory, that when I'm in bed, then suddenly I get really hot, but like massively heating up. And then the next thing I know, that I start seeing rainbow lights all around me. And it's almost like they're waiting for me to do something and go somewhere. And next thing I know, I am out of the body, but I'm no longer a little kid. I'm a being. I don't know my face. I don't know my body. I'm a being. And as this being, traveling in actually what I would call cosmos with my friends, and my friends are also just beings, and we are telepathic. And so telepathically we share something. And so that was my many, I would say hundreds, if not thousands, even out-of-body experiences as a little child. And then one day I felt like it stopped. But I already, when I was 13, I started to meditate. So then, some kind of experiences came that I would call even beyond out-of-body travel. And then nothing was happening, even though I was meditating so much. I was just meditating all the time, as much as I could. And I don't know if one could count the thousands and thousands and thousands of hours. And then it was around the year 2018 where suddenly I was being pulled by some kind of magnetic energy out of body, and where it was like unstoppable again. Unstoppable, out of my control, didn't know what was going really on, except for I remembered as a kid. And so since 2018, it was very, very puzzling to me. What's going on? Why am I leaving the body at night? Why am I floating out? Like, I was so shocked the first time it happened, after so long. My arm was floating in the air in the middle of the night, and I thought, this is weird. Why is my arm in the air? And so I tried to pull the arm down, and then I realized, oh my gosh, I suddenly have 3 arms. And then my leg was floating out, and I thought, what's going on with me? Like, why do I have 3 legs now? And then I realized that I'm actually peeling out of body as what I call an etheric double. And so I went with it. And so then I started to just go with it. And so as I was going with it, it was kind of, just totally just happening all the time since 2018. And then I thought, well, I better master this. I really want to master what's going on here. I don't want to just come out of body and then be taken somewhere. I'd like to be a little bit more knowledgeable about this. And I'd like to know exactly, how to operate when I'm out of body. And so I started to mainly float up. So there are many people who actually have experience, of course, out of body travel. And I do believe the great yogis used it very proficiently as what they called one of their siddhis, the gifts, to be able to actually not be limited by the physical body, but to have access to all the higher realms out of body. And so, with all the training I had with Yogananda, I started to master. And one of the things that I started to do is I just studied it. When it started to happen, I would say, so what's going on here? Oh, okay. Everything within me is moving into the spine. So I noticed that all life force that I had within me, and also from my nerves, from my muscles, from the entire body, from all my senses, I could tell that everything is being centered in my spine. And then I could study that in the most ecstatic way, as one would expect this energy. This energy would start moving up the spine, and I could see how it moves up the spine, and it wants to reach my third eye, but sometimes also it wanted to reach my crown. And in that moment, if I relaxed, then I would start floating out. So I thought, okay, this is good. I'm starting to really being able to navigate this a little bit. And so every night I practiced navigating it. And so next thing I noticed that if I completely turn off all my thoughts, which of course is not always easy, but I found that if I chant Om in my third eye, that it makes it so much easier and again manageable in a way that I feel like I'm a little bit in charge here. It's not just all random stuff. And so I developed this process for myself that I use every night when I feel like it. I also have nights when I just simply know this is not the right thing to do tonight. It's not the right energy. And I also just sometimes want to sleep. So when I pull the energy into the spine, I disconnect from my five senses. So that allows me to have nothingness. And the feeling of nothingness while just Om sounding through my third eye allows me to travel out. So since 2018, I really have not counted, but I would say by now it's been hundreds of out-of-body experiences or close to hundreds. And so I definitely do my best to explore as a scientist. I'm going to call it like a spiritual scientist. I want to explore what is out there. What is the human being? What is our highest potential? What is divine will? What is this world all about? What is going on? And how can we participate in this and be informed? And also, how can we participate and fulfill the missions available to be fulfilled? So I found that when I leave my body, there's always immediately energy that gathers around the etheric double, and that the etheric double is truly a light being. And so one way to describe it here, actually, this is a really great picture that our designer created. And that is very much similar to what happens when I leave the body and I'm just standing first in the bedroom next to the bed, and I'm pulling all my focus into what's next. And one thing that I learned also from all these experiences is to only ask for one thing, and that is to be with Divine Mother, to be with Divine Father, nothing else. I never anymore. I used to like, oh, I want to see my grandparents. I want to visit with my grandma. I wonder where my grandfather is. And that too worked. It was wonderful, but it was not like the highest intention I could have. And so I learned to just say very, very intently, I wanted to be with my Divine Mother, Divine Father. I want to know divine will for this being that I am, which I recommend to everyone to know the divine will for your own being, but also divine will for this world. And so that has allowed me to explore very many higher worlds. One way to see everything beyond things is this beautiful fabric that you get to travel through. And of course, it's very entertaining. I find it like, it's fun. But we want to have not just, well, in the end, it is about divine entertainment. So why not to have fun with this? But I also noticed that when you're out of body, something quite remarkable happens when you chant Om. And so I started to use my Om out of body. And of course, you have a voice out of body, and you hear a lot of beautiful music when you are out of body. So the music of the spheres is just, most of the time, it is classical music. Sometimes it's classical music with opera singing, but one day I also heard what I would call a pop song, and it was really funny. I'm sure that some angels were just having a really great night and they were just singing like a boy band or whatever they called. And so okay, so I've mastered and I've been teaching this, that when you're out of body and you chant Om, it always takes you to the next higher realm. And that sometimes you have to build up in energy to be able to go to the higher realm. Since everything is energy, then we do have to match. And sometimes, I'm working on a different higher realm and I cannot really make it through the barrier of a dimension of a realm because I simply have not gathered enough energy around myself. And so I have to stay in a realm which might be super wonderful. But then eventually, maybe after many months and sometimes even years, you might have a breakthrough. And so for me, the big breakthrough started to happen. And again, Gurga, thank you for helping me understand this. When I was out of body, mainly in 2023, I started to experience something really, to me, inexplicable. And that's why I call it, let's be scientists here. Let's just get together and see how it all makes sense. And then help each other to actually live a good life. Because to me, that's, let's have fun with this. It is divine entertainment. And so if it is entertaining to our divine father and divine mother, then let's too have some fun here. And so what happened to me in 2023, as I feel like, oh, I've got this, I'm going to pull all my life force, no more senses. I cannot hear, I cannot touch, I don't feel my body anymore. I'm able to truly leave it behind with just pulling myself out. And then I would pull myself out, and there I am, traveling with my and very often being able to hang out with Divine Mother and Divine Father in some way. And then something very interesting started to happen. As I was in my etheric double, exploring these other realms, I suddenly realized that even there, I can leave actually that body that I was in, which was like this, and that I can move on into an even higher body. And that it too follows the same process as if I now had a spine that is actually etheric. And it's, of course, not physical because I'm in a non-physical body. And so I started to explore what happens if I actually move through the spine in my etheric body. And so, people call this astral projection, and you could call it astral body. I don't know exactly what term to use. I just can give you my experience here. And so I was able to actually go to the next level by leaving that body behind. And then I would be in even higher realms, being able to explore actually even beyond what we would call the astral sphere and even higher realms. And so next thing that I would notice, that there is some kind of ceiling, some kind of limitation to how far one can go, even though you already are even beyond the astral and you are what maybe Yogananda would describe as the causal plane. And so there I'm exploring, hanging out again with Divine Mother, having so much fun and getting to know the worlds, getting to know the earth, getting to know again what is our destiny here, playing a little bit with the different options that we have for the different timelines, and then coming back usually with something that I can give to others in terms of maybe assistance, knowledge, whatever it is that we can gift each other with here to support each other. And so I noticed the ceiling, kind of like a ceiling. And I thought, well, how does one crack the code? And Divine Father said to me, why don't you just practice your tone? And one day, when you get the tone right, you will see something incredible will happen. And so I thought, okay, I'll practice my arms. And so I get out of my physical body, then I go into the astral body. From the astral body, I go into the next body, and there I am in that kind of limited world, meaning there is a limitation to it. So I'm trying to go through the barrier. And then 2023, it was in spring, I was chanting my Om in that state, in this causal plane. And when one day I got that Om right, I knew that I got it right. I knew that that one Om, it was not like you have to repeat it 108 times. It was not about that. It was not about how many Oms. It was about how right do you get the tone of it. And so one day I got it right. And when I got it right, it was exactly what Divine Father said that would happen. And the ceiling opened. And when the ceiling opened, again, this is just a picture. It's not at all what you will see, but it was similar kind of, you would open the ceiling that was like a membrane. And when it opened, I was allowed to enter what I would call the solar worlds. But the thing was that Divine Father told me this is not just a personal thing that just happened. He said now it is actually like a bridge of freedom for everyone else in this world. So it seemed maybe like a collective benefit. So I didn't think about it too much. I know Patricia also mentioned this bridge to freedom, and it was like a direct wormhole suddenly to these higher realms. And so we came back from Serpent Mound in Ohio in December, and of course it was life-changing for the earth what happened. And what I found so interesting, guys, is that, you know, we worked on awakening of this frozen life force within the earth so that the earth can go into a whole new state of energy. And of course it happened. And then I heard from some of you that the mystics who follow the Kalashvar's teachings, they said it was the beginning of the golden age. Patricia Cota Robles started kind of a new mission, now working with the Grand Sun. And I was able to witness quite incredible things when we came back from Ohio. And let me just close the blind here. And so a lot of things just happened end of December, beginning of January. And I will share many of those things soon. But it was on January 1st, after I was experiencing these big changes within the planetary construct, I could see that some energies got some very ancient energies that you would call maybe even trillions, billions of years old, got balanced in this world in a whole new way. And that it will affect us physically, not just in our physical body, but also our subtle bodies, meaning that our chakra system really was liberated from a lot of heaviness in the first, second, and the third chakra. And where I would say most of us human beings have been kind of possessed by the first three lower chakras, suddenly there was this rebalancing. And so on January 1st, I again was coming out of body. And I just followed the same process as always, you know, nothing new. I'm pulling all my senses out. I'm coming out of body. I'm in my etheric double. And then again, I go into the next body. And all of this happens through a spine. So your spine is not only physical, but the spine actually continues with you into these multi-dimensions. And so I'm just moving through my own spine the whole time, even though I'm in the etheric double. And so I come out again and I see, oh, here is the ceiling. Once again, oh, I'm familiar and I know exactly what to do. And so I was excited because, you know, you get excited when you get to practice your magic tools. And so I'm in again in this huge kind of round tower, and I call it rotunda just for fun. And then I look up and I say, okay, the ceiling is here, so I know exactly what to do. And so I asked everyone who was inside this building to chant Om with me. And so in the most beautiful celestial choir, this incredible, it was like, to me, it was beings that looked very similar to us here, but, you know, in their etheric bodies and beyond etheric bodies. And so, of course, you have the gift of voice. And so together we started to sing Om. And as it was sounding through this building, the ceiling completely opened. And I'm just describing it all exactly from, like, you know, the energy that is within. And when it opened, it was like a portal to pure land of splendor, just golden light. It was like immediate access to the creator. And it was like the creator was so excited to take us through the worlds. And I said, I have an intention, creator. I'd like to explore solar worlds. I want to especially explore the Grand Sun because Patricia speaks about it. So I want to know, what is it like there? And so I was guided by the creator to go through all these solar worlds. I cannot even count them. It was so many. And they were all so beautiful. And once I noticed many things about them, and I described it in the video on YouTube. But one thing that I also noticed was that they were moving very slowly. It's almost like they were eternal, but of course, there is still change within cosmos, but they were moving so slow. Everything was just so already steady and peaceful, and it was their little action, but everything was so perfect. It was just so perfect. And the creator was taking me, and I even saw some human beings, and I mentioned it again. If you're familiar with, I know there is a mystic, and well, she's a teacher and she does readings in South Africa, Judith Kussel. And I don't even follow Judith, but I've seen pictures of her. And so I was like, oh, that's Judith. And she was there. And she was just walking, with us. And we were just exploring these solar worlds. And I was like, yeah, hi, Judith. Not that I really know you, but here I know you, of course. And so for those of you who follow Judith, she was there. And so then I just really focused on being with the creator, and that I wanted to really get to know every solar world. And there was a moment where I got to even touch the sand, the crystalline sand of a solar world, and I was holding it in my hands, and everything was sound and color and tone, obviously sound. But it was also like beautiful scent. Everything smelled so good, sounded so good, looked so good. And I saw all the beautiful beings, these master teachers, master beings. Everyone's so perfect, everything's so incredible. And then I felt for a moment like, whoa, I wonder, like, this is all perfection. This is great. But after a while, it's just great, 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 great. Not much going on. And so I thought, what is beyond all of this? And I asked Divine Father, and I said, what is beyond all these worlds? And the creator said, beyond all these worlds is the absolute. And as mystics, we are familiar with the language, so I'm using the same language. Even though all the words from the creator, they came as like a transmission of not just knowing, but it was also like images. And so I said, you know what? I really want to explore the absolute. If there is anything to explore, I want to be in the absolute. And so instantaneously, of course, as it is in these higher realms, you end up in complete, I would say it's, of course, indescribable, because if we could describe the absolute, it would not be the absolute. And so I don't want to use exactly all the language that all the mystics use. So I'm going to just describe it in my own words. Just personal experience, subjective. And so the absolute was as if, like when you were a little kid and you wondered, what is it like to be inside a cloud? So I felt that way. It was like this infinite cloud of white, shimmering light that just was. There was nothing within it. It was just white, shimmering light. And I lost my form. I lost even what I would call my identity. I no longer was someone who is really perceiving something on the outside of myself. I completely lost a sense of I. And it's hard to describe since there is no I, but you're trying to describe it as I. So everything about this being that I am dissolved, and I became just one with, no form, no body, no thought, no feeling. And at the same time, it was just this glorious, like ecstatic bliss that was indescribable. It was everywhere. I was it. There was no creator as such. There was no divine father, divine mother, nothing. It was just like one infinite, eternal, motionless field with, no worlds within it, no beings within it, no experiences within it, no thought within it. And so after a while in this infinite, ultimate reality, I suddenly could feel a thought. And it was amazing. It was like a thought arose out of nowhere, and it felt like, well, now that I've been infinite and I've experienced what it's like, I want to kind of go back, because this is fun, but also, and this was the silly human thought that I had, cool. And after a while, you want some action. And so I'm back. I felt very disoriented when I was back in these solar worlds, because coming from the infinite into the solar worlds, even though the solar worlds are so perfect, it felt like, huge difference. I would describe it as going through the birth canal and coming out into a world. So here I am again in these solar worlds, and I'm just looking around and, just really communicating with the creator. And I said, well, this is all so amazing. It's so beautiful, so perfect. So what about planet Earth? What's going on there? Like, I'm obviously right now focused in planet Earth, on planet Earth. And so I know that people suffer, and I know there is a lot of struggle and pain and stuff going on. And the creator was just smiling. And suddenly there was like a cosmic, let's call it screen. You can see everything at once. And so, not like technology, but suddenly everything is visible. And so we're looking at all these different worlds at once. You can see all these super advanced solar worlds, so many of them. And then, the little world that we are part of here. And I watched it the way that the creator watched it. I no longer saw pain. I no longer saw suffering, but I saw motion, a lot of motion. And I gave it a word in my head. I said, whoa, this is actionable. And I got excited, and the creator was excited. Actionable world. And it was not about, the details of it. It was not like people are in pain. It was not that. It's not like that would entertain God. But the entertainment truly was that it's actionable. And then all the other worlds too, I could tell were entertainment for the creator. And I thought, wow, it is entertaining. And I felt so excited to be part of a very actionable world. And, when you think about it, right, it would be so hard to actually agree with this. But at the same time, from this perspective, it was like, whoa, here, things are moving fast. Things are happening. So many things are happening. Whereas the worlds that are so close to the ultimate reality are so close to motionlessness. It's just stillness of all things. And that too felt like fun, but this felt like so much more fun. And so, I said my goodbyes and thank yous, and I came back into the body. And the way that I entered the body, it's like a process of, you have to reposition yourself once you come back into the shell. And so I came back into the shell, and then you kind of have to reconnect yourself, obviously, because it's such a big difference for your nervous system. And so I'm, coming in, restructuring myself. And I felt unbelievably excited to be now a human being who gets to be in this world with you all, and that there is really nothing wrong with this world, but it is such an amazing opportunity. Which takes me back to, again, people would disagree. I would say, that's so much wrong with this world. But now I had this new consciousness living within me, and everything seemed like an opportunity. Opportunity for service, opportunity to spread goodwill, to help everyone around, to have fun too, to be part of this amazing entertainment. And if it was meant to be fun, to also realize to have a little bit more fun, to laugh a little more, to take it a little less personally, but much more as, joyful entertainment. And so, it's always life-changing when you have these experiences, of course. And, then you kind of translate it into your daily living. And so if this truly is this very amazing entertainment, then what does it mean? Does it mean to completely live without caring for anything? No. It actually means living lightly. Living lightly and always assisting everyone to also awaken, and then to make choices, because choices are creation. And so I could tell that our creator, in a way, and this was just me translating it, making sense of it all, that we are here on a wonderful mission, and that the mission is to be in this world, but to, of course, know not to be exactly of the world, but to be the one who is in this consciousness of divinity, which is not in any way some, false arrogance, but actually complete surrender in joyful awe, and to look around, not to become what's around, but to be the change maker, not because something is wrong, but because so much could be improved. And so I started to see the world through these eyes of, since we are, in a way, a miniature creator being here in this world, and God is us, then what would divine will be for this being that is you and me here, but also for this world? And then to be the one who gets it done, who brings the information through, who has a new vision, who creates a new system, who helps others, who supports the world in becoming more and more and more harmonious. One thing that I learned from the creator in the past, which was very important, and again, it's a piece of information that I will repeat often, is that peace holds the key to heaven. It is peace. And so how can we be the peace makers, keepers, the ones who bring peace to this world through, of course, bringing peace to our own being in every way? And so seeing beyond duality in this world, it's the key. Again, today I'm not going to explain all of it here. I don't want this to be too long, but think about the world of duality. And I've always shown this picture, which was given to me by actually the creator of all that is, when Yogananda helped me meet with the creator for some of the first times. It was actually the second time. And so I received this graph from the creator of all that is, to understand that beyond duality, there is the center point, and that the center point is, you could say, the Holy Trinity, the Trinity here, and that actually the center point is where the true power is. I later received more information about this kind of diagram here, that the center point is also Christ consciousness, which is all love, which is all good, without having to have an opposite. And so everything that is in the center, it's not just what people call neutrality. Neutrality sometimes sounds like we don't care, but it actually is deep care. And that it is all love. And that it is not love that opposes, it is the love that is so powerful that nothing else can exist in its presence. So when I received more information about this, that it was actually what we would call Christ consciousness, just to give it a name, I also received the information that instead of maybe labeling it that way, we can say all love. And then if you imagine that in the center is your loving heart, that doesn't have to oppose anything and anyone, because it's so incredibly powerful that nothing else has any power, any influence. This is actually profound. To me, all these celestial experiences are profound, but this one was like a revelation of the design of reality. And it was design of actually cosmic reality, because my request was to meet with the creator of all that is. And so when a being gets this, it is pretty much what the Buddha called the middle path. And I always say it's also misunderstood, because a lot of things are misunderstood in this world, simply because they are not self-realized, but because they are more like read in books, passed on. And so, that's probably a lot of things get lost in translation. But when the creator of all that is revealed itself, then it was about the middle path, having to do nothing with moderation, but everything to do with actually the center. And in our world, we understand the center as the heart. In our world, we understand the center as all magnetic love. And it was in August this last year that I had another amazing experience, celestial experience with our Divine Father. And again, we'll speak about this again and again, because it's so important, I think, for all of us, so that we can understand what's going on here and who we are. And what I experienced was that I was able to see the power of our heart. I was able to see it. And when I saw it, I saw how amazingly magnetic our heart is, and that it emanates a very large magnetic field, like a sphere that is all around us. And the more love that we emanate, the bigger the magnetic sphere is. And once I saw it, I also saw that once we have this magnetic emanation from the heart, nothing else can harm us, nothing else can enter us, nothing else can touch us, and that is the ultimate goal for all of us in this world, is to keep emanating this celestial, unconditional, divine love. And so that would be, I guess, it for today, to start this new moon cycle to full moon. I will post it on YouTube. For those of you who wonder where these replays go, they go to YouTube, to the Green Tara Guru channel. And the good news is we now have an assistant, which I'm so grateful for, because I really didn't have time, unfortunately, to answer emails very often in the last year at all. And so our amazing assistant Heather will be answering emails and helping us to be a little bit more organized in this mission. And so thank you so much for being here. We will be meeting again today, every day at 11 and 5 during this new moon to full moon cycle, unless I'm traveling. And so the times and dates are posted on the website. For example, I know this weekend I will be traveling, and I think it's on the 13th. So there will be no events on the 13th, but we should be able to meet on the 14th, and so on and so on. And so thank you so much. I hope that this helps us again just to know who we are and to live according to divine will for your being, and then for the larger world that we are part of. So thank you so much, and many blessings to everyone.